One of the tricky things about do-it-yourself medicine is trying to figure out what's going on inside a body without cutting it open to have a look. I mean, I can quite easily gauge my internal temperature by putting a thermometer in my mouth, get an idea of how often my heart's beating by taking my pulse. But what about the other classic, blood pressure? The first real blood pressure measurements were taken in 1733 by an English clergyman. He stuffed a glass tube into an artery of his own horse, where he noticed the blood level go up and down to the beat of the horse's heart. I just don't think that's the method for me. There's got to be something else I can make that'll still do the job. In the 1800s, an Italian doctor realised that you could measure blood pressure without having to create an open wound. Dr. Riva Rocci was the first person to design an inflatable cuff that would fit a patient's arm. And just like me, he attempted to build his original sphygmomanometer, as they're known, out of everyday objects. His theory was that the pressure required to cut off the blood flow in an artery would be the same as the maximum blood pressure in that artery. That certainly cuts off the blood supply. I now just need to attach this to a very sensitive pressure gauge to figure out what pressure that is. I'm going to make a YouTube manometer because they can very accurately measure small pressure changes. Even though we no longer use mercury in our medical manometers, blood pressure is still given as if we were pushing mercury up a tube. A quick calculation converts the height difference in my water manometer to the equivalent in millimetres of mercury. Right, I've got an accurate pressure gauge, a very powerful arm squeezer and a bike pump. It's time to get medical. One has to look the part. Under the cuff. Air out. Ah, there, it came back. Well, based on that, when the pressure in the cuff drops to about 145, 150 millimetres of mercury, my blood can start flowing again. So I know my maximum blood pressure, the pressure when my heart is squeezing, is about 145 millimetres of mercury. That is my systolic blood pressure. And for a long time, that's all we ever knew, until 1905, when a Russian doctor, Nikolai Korotkov, came up with a different approach. He realised that by listening to the blood as it flowed back through the artery, he could deduce a little bit more. There really are two distinct sound clues. First is a kind of knocking noise as the blood starts rushing back into your arteries, and that is your systolic blood pressure. Yeah, that's coming back in. The next sound clue is that noise sort of disappearing and around about there. And that's your diastolic blood pressure. That's like the minimum, your resting blood pressure between heartbeats. And with those two numbers, doctors are able to deduce far more about the health of your heart. So according to this kit, my blood pressure would be given as 145/85, which is a little high. Before I rush off to the doctors, probably best to double check my result with a bit more high-tech kit. 161/84. That's not far off what our homemade kit was doing. I mean, it's still slightly high. What I might do is relax for 5 minutes, have a nice cup of tea, and try it then. And if that doesn't work, I'll make the doctor's appointment.